So you all know I care deeply about the issue of free speech, so when I saw this next story, it made me angry. Joe Rogan tweeted this out. CNN says this: a sheriff's deputy had his ex-wife arrested because he didn't like what she wrote about him on Facebook. Wow. So her name is Ann King, and in 2015 she said this about her ex-husband Corey, quote, "That moment when everyone in your house has the flu and you ask your kid's dad to get them, not me, more Motrin and Tylenol, and he refuses." And she added a little emoji, the overwhelmed face. She added that to the post. So her friend Susan Hines commented and said, "He's a POS, piece of shit, and give me an hour and check your mailbox. I'll be glad to pick up the slack." So the ex-husband then filed an incident report and requested an arrest warrant because of her, quote, derogatory statements. And then CNN says, quote, "The arrest warrant, as noted in the complaint, said the subject did, without a privilege to do so and with intent to defame another, communicate false matter which tends to expose one who is alive to hatred, contempt, or ridicule, and which tends to provoke a breach of peace." So the next day, a Washington County court magistrate issued warrants for Ann King and Hines, and the women were charged with criminal defamation of character and processed and spent about 4 hours in jail before posting $1,000 bail. So, this is a special snowflake police officer who has a friend who's a judge who was cool with him sending a message, even though this is brazenly illegal and unconstitutional. All she did was talk shit about you, and it wasn't even that bad. Even, by the way, if it was bad, still doesn't matter. You can't arrest them, you fucking jackass, snowflake, thin-skinned bitch. But all she said was he didn't pick up the medicine. I wanted him to pick up the medicine. He got so triggered by this, he needed a safe space. He arrested his ex-wife to send a message. Don't talk shit about me. Oh, and by the way, he's such a jackass that he doesn't understand that, okay, only, 8 people read the post originally, roughly? And then now, as a result of your arrogance, because you arrested them, now this made national news. And you know who defamed your character? You did! Nobody would have heard about it, nobody would have cared if she talked shit about you on Facebook and you let it go. But you arrested her because you're a douche, and then now it made national news, and everybody's against you. And this is what happens, man. This is how petty, tyrannical, dictatorial people think and act. They always say, in principle, I believe in free speech and the theory of it and the philosophy of it, but, there's always a but. There's always a by the way. But, I mean, if somebody says some shit about me, I'm so special that I'm going to arrest you for it. And these are cops abusing their authority. And then a bigger point here is this. How much is shit like this happening that we don't hear about it? That the wife decides, I'm not going to sue, I'm not going to let this blow up, I'm not going to let it become national news. I bet it happens somewhat regularly that cops abuse their authority, not just with loved ones, but with people who they hold a grudge with, who maybe were former friends of theirs or enemies from high school or whatever the case is, or somebody they don't like in a neighborhood. This shit probably happens all the fucking time, because cops are human beings like everybody else. And what happens with power is, it's the old saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you give this guy what he feels like is absolute power because he's the sheriff, he's Mr. Big Shot in town, and he immediately uses it for bad because he felt like, he had his feelings hurt a little bit. So anyway, he should be brought up. He should be put in jail for this. He really should. He should spend some time behind bars because you can't do that. You can't take away somebody's freedom because your feelings were hurt. You put somebody in a jail, your ex-wife in a jail, because she made a comment on Facebook. How insane is that? We need to make sure that the police are policed, or else, there's no point in having rules in the first place if it only applies to some people. And by the way, that's what civil asset forfeiture is and why that's such a problem. That's legalized robbery by cop. They can just take your money, take your property and say, hey, we think it was about to be used in a drug transaction or something, so now we're going to take it from you, and now you can't even get it back. So legalized robbery by cop needs to stop. We have to end the drug war, but that's a different conversation because that opens up the door to all types of oppression. And clearly check their asses when they do shit like this because they need to know this is not okay.